Hi guys, my name is Alana. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Mental Health with Alana. If you're new here, please click the red subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and also make sure you click the bell notification button so you know every time I post a video. So for today's video, I'm going to be talking about ways that you can manage bipolar disorder. So I have schizoaffective disorder, which means that I have schizophrenia and bipolar. Managing bipolar disorder is quite difficult, and I would just like to give you guys some tips on things that have helped me and what I think could be potentially helpful for you. So yeah, let's get on with the video. So I recently had a quite bad depressive episode after being very manic. Generally, I struggle with mania more because I have bipolar 1, and I don't seem to really get the depressive side of things, but for some reason this time a very, very bad depressive episode seemed to just show up. So yeah, and it ended up me being in hospital under a mental health act, and it wasn't great. But I wanted to give you some tips on what I've done normally, because that type of thing to that extreme doesn't normally happen. And generally it's more the mania that I struggle with. So I'm going to talk about mania and then depression and what you can do for each. So for mania, I mean, I know you've probably heard these things before, but honestly, getting enough sleep is super, super important. If you do not sleep enough, that can trigger off a manic episode. Interestingly enough, I have been told that if people get too excited, it can also cause manic episodes, which is quite odd. Life changes can cause manic episodes, not getting enough sleep, and the other one is being under a large amount of stress. So obviously this means that when it comes to your daily life, we all have stress, but it's about thinking about what needs to be done first and what can maybe be left for another time and a bit later on. So kind of prioritizing your, daily life and your things that you need to get done and thinking about what's actually the most important, because I find when you push yourself and you get super stressed, that can also be a trigger. And like I was saying, obviously getting enough sleep is super important. For me, when I have manic episodes, I generally only get about 3 hours sleep, like a night, and that can last for like a month, which isn't good for your body either. And it makes it a lot more complicated because I have a lot of physical illnesses that kind of overlap the mental health issues. So for me, making sure that I try to get around 10 hours sleep. That's only because I have just really bad fatigue issues, amongst other things, and also I found for me the 10 hours is what I need, but for you may only need 8 hours, and that's fine. But basically what I'm saying is figure out how many hours of sleep you need and try to stick to that, try to have a schedule. So for me, I take my meds at 9 o'clock because I know that I want to be in bed by 10 o'clock, so that's my cutoff. I want to be in bed going to sleep at 10 o'clock, and I normally wake up around 8 o'clock in the morning. So I have that strict kind of bedtime routine, and I think it's super helpful when you can set up a routine, because it keeps your circadian rhythm, which is basically controlling your body, and it's a big thing when it comes to bipolar. So making sure you have that sleep schedule is like really important thing. Other things for bipolar, I find to eliminate stress the best you can. I find, and this is different for everyone, but for me, I write down to-do lists every week, and I just write everything down, and I try my best to get things done, and I write down what days I'm planning to do that on. I have a support worker twice a week, so a lot of the time those activities I will keep for when my support worker is helping me, because I'm not able to really do them on my own, due to either being too fatigued or just bad anxiety, or things like that, or just needing that extra support. So I write a list of just everything I need to do, kind of like a brain dump, just so it is not constantly in my head, and I feel like I have some sort of plan, because that can obviously add stress into your life. There's other things that people often recommend, like regular exercise. For me, I'm very struggling with that at the moment because of my chronic fatigue. So I am trying to find ways to exercise that's not going to trigger off episodes. But for most people, if you don't have chronic fatigue, your body is fine, you're able to do exercise, I would highly recommend it. Like, try to do something. Literally, it could just be a walk every day, or 5 days a week. Like, exercise is really, really good. And it's quite frustrating for me that I can't do the amount of exercise that I want to do, but that's just how it is, and I don't really have much choice over the matter, because it will make my physical symptoms a lot worse. Another thing when it comes to mania is making sure that you have a good support system, so somebody who can kind of know your signs of mania and check on you when they're starting to happen. So if they start to see that you're slipping into some sort of manic episode, then it'd be really good for them to be able to say, hey, like, I've noticed you've been doing X, Y, and Z. Maybe we need to look at, going to the doctor or changing some meds, or maybe you just need to take things a bit slower and, have a bit of a rest instead of pushing yourself more and more. And also having someone who can kind of like keep an eye on you and just see what's happening, because I find with mania specifically, it's very, very hard to pick up on. I know me personally, I don't have much self-awareness when it comes to mania, and so it's not really until other people start noticing things. And sometimes it's gone to the point then where it's a bit too bad, and it's easier to intervene early. So I always say that intervene as early as you can. Even if you don't know what's going on, have somebody in your life who does know, who can tell you. So then moving on to depression. So obviously when you've had mania, you often go into depression. And this can vary for people. People may not have depressive episodes. Like with me, I really rarely ever have depressive episodes. I had a really bad one, and I don't know where that came from, because I have not had bad depressive episodes since I was a teenager. When it came to my bipolar, it's always been like the mania that's been the issue, and got me in trouble. But yeah, with depression, I think making sure you keep up with self-care as much as you can, because when you're depressed, you don't feel like showering, you don't feel like brushing your teeth, you don't feel like doing any of these things. But making a little routine for yourself, it literally can just be like brush my teeth, brush my hair, and have a shower. That's all it can be. For me, I really like having baths, so I find that a lot easier, because also, again, my chronic fatigue, and I also am in the process of being diagnosed with POTS, so I really struggle to be standing. And when I'm depressed, obviously I don't have motivation to have showers or do things like that either. So I find having a bath a lot easier, because then I can just sit in there and it's not as overwhelming, and I find it a lot more calming, because it's kind of engaging your senses, like the smell of the bath. You can put, like, I use like bath salts, I use bath bombs, I light my candle, I put my favorite music on, and I kind of just sit in there for a while, and I found it really regulating. And it's, even when I don't want to do it, I make myself do it, and I actually feel a lot better afterwards. So find out what works for you. Like, I have a sensory box with activities, with workbooks, different things like that, and that really helps me. But again, it's all up to finding what works for you. So try out a few things. You can even go on Pinterest and say, type in good activities for depression, or ideas for when you're depressed, and it will come up with a bunch of things. So I think having some sort of plan in place where okay, today I'm gonna get up at this time. It's okay if you sleep more than normal, don't beat yourself up about it. As long as you're just doing the really basic self-care necessities, I feel like then you're gonna be fine, until the episode ends. But the more you try to push yourself to at least do something, the better you're gonna feel. And I know in the moment you really don't feel like doing it, but if you can try to get yourself to do it, it does help. The other thing with mania and depression is also obviously going to your doctor and seeing if you take medication, seeing if there can be any changes, maybe just like a short-term change, just to get you through that period. I know that's what happened to me before, so yeah, that can be super helpful. So yeah, I hope you guys found this helpful. It is honestly very hard to manage this illness, and you know, a lot of the time it's mainly managed by medication, but I wanted to make a video talking about more like non-medication options, because I know that people just sometimes don't, and myself included, you know, you don't really want to be on medication, but sometimes with this disorder you just have to. Look, there are probably people out there who can manage it without, but it'd be a very small percent. Since it is a chemical thing in your brain, it's, you know, and don't feel guilty about having it either, because you honestly have no control over the fact that you have it. It's just that your brain is not working in the way that it should, and sometimes we need medication as an aid to get us, you know, stable and things like that. So hope that you guys found this helpful, and if you have any video suggestions, leave it in the comments down below and I'll get to that. So thank you guys so much.